7 black luxury cars rolled down Ashford Street in Baltimore like a funeral procession.
Lauren! Get out here now! You won't believe what just pulled up. It's like the president's here.
These were Maybachs, Bentleys, and one Rolls-Royce that cost more than every house on the block combined. Neighbors poured out of their homes. Kids stopped playing basketball mid-game. Mrs. Patterson from next door clutched her chest like she was having a heart attack, her other hand already reaching for her phone to call somebody, anybody, because this was news. The cars stopped, right in front of the broken gate of 428 Ashford Street, right in front of the house where 25-year-old Simone Taylor and her 35-year-old sister, Lauren, lived in a rental so small you could hear the neighbor's toilet flush through the walls. Simone stood frozen on the porch in her Hot Peppers chicken delivery uniform, red polo shirt with grease stains that wouldn't come out no matter how much detergent she used, black pants, hair slicked back in a perfect middle bun with laid edges that took her 20 minutes that morning. Her unique hazel eyes, the only thing her dead mother left her besides debt and heartache, went wide as dinner plates. "Lauren," Simone's voice cracked like glass breaking. "Lauren, get out here now." The screen door banged open. Lauren rushed out, still in her waitressing uniform from Murphy's Diner, black pants, and a white button-up that pulled tight across her full chest and curved hips. She was a plus-sized woman who carried every inch of her beauty with the kind of confidence that made people do double takes. Her natural hair was wrapped in a burgundy silk scarf, tied in an elegant knot at the front. She always wore her scarves like crowns. When Lauren saw those cars, her mouth fell open. She grabbed Simone's arm so hard it hurt. "Simone Marie Taylor." Lauren's voice dropped to that dangerous whisper she used when she was either terrified or about to cuss somebody out. "Baby girl, what did you do?" "I don't know," Simone whispered back, her heart hammering like it was trying to break free from her ribcage. "I swear to God, Lauren, I don't know." "Did you hit somebody's car on your delivery route? Baby, if you got a lawsuit coming." "I didn't hit nothing." The driver's door of the first Maybach opened with a soft, expensive click. Out stepped a short Korean man in a perfect gray suit that probably cost more than Simone made in 6 months. Wire-rimmed glasses caught the late afternoon sun. He looked about 57, with salt and pepper hair combed back neat, and a face that had seen things, serious things, hard things, the kind of things that put lines around your eyes and made you walk with quiet authority. He walked straight toward them with the confidence of a man who owned the world and was just reminding you of that fact. Behind him, 6 other car doors opened in perfect synchronization. Men in black suits emerged like Secret Service agents, all wearing sunglasses, all standing with their hands clasped in front of them. Simone's heart hammered so hard she thought it might explode right through her chest and land on the porch. Mrs. Patterson's voice carried from next door. "Lord have mercy, Simone done got herself mixed up with the mafia." The Korean man stopped at the bottom of their cracked concrete steps. He looked up at both sisters. Then, slowly, with great reverence, he bowed. A deep, respectful bow that made Simone feel like royalty, even though she smelled like buffalo wings and regret. When he straightened up, his eyes were wet, actual tears pooling behind those wire-rimmed glasses. "Miss Simone Taylor," he said in perfect English with just the softest hint of an accent that made his words sound more formal, more important. "My name is David Park. I am the Chief Financial Officer of Whitmore Dairy Enterprise." Simone glanced at Lauren. Lauren looked just as confused as she felt. "Sir," Simone said carefully, her voice shaking just a little, "I think you got the wrong house. We don't know nothing about no Whitmore Dairy. We don't know you." David Park smiled, but it was a sad smile. The kind of smile that said he'd been carrying something heavy for too long and was finally about to set it down. "You don't know me, Miss Taylor, but you know him." He turned and gestured toward their house. That's when Simone's blood turned to straight ice water in her veins, because inside that house, sitting in their cramped living room in a borrowed wheelchair that Simone had gotten from the Goodwill on North Avenue, wearing clothes from the same Goodwill that still had the tags on them, was a man she'd found begging on the corner of Martin Luther King Boulevard just 2 days ago. A man she'd recognized from high school, Jonathan Whitmore. The same Jonathan who used to drive a white Mercedes to Mount Vernon High School like he was grown. The same Jonathan who always had the newest Jordans before they even hit the stores. The same Jonathan every girl wanted to date and every guy wanted to be. But the Jonathan she'd found on Wednesday afternoon had been broken, dirty, hungry, slumped in a wheelchair with a piece of cardboard in his lap that said in shaky handwriting, "Please help. Anything helps. God bless." Simone had almost walked past him. She'd had 3 more deliveries to make, her feet hurt, and she was tired of people looking at her like she was nobody just because she delivered chicken for a living, almost. But then their eyes met, and she'd seen something in his face, recognition, shame, and something else she couldn't name. Something that looked like a man drowning who just spotted land. So she'd brought him home, fed him her own dinner, let him sleep on their couch even though Lauren had nearly lost her whole mind. Now this Korean man in a suit that cost more than their car was standing on their porch with 7 luxury vehicles, talking about Whitmore Dairy Enterprise. Who? Simone's voice shook like leaves in a storm. Who is Jonathan Whitmore? For real? David Park's smile grew wider, but the tears in his eyes grew heavier. Jonathan Whitmore is the sole heir to Whitmore Dairy Empire. We have factories in Baltimore, Dallas, Atlanta, and Charlotte. We produce 60% of the organic milk sold on the East Coast. Our net worth is currently valued at $3.2 billion. World tilted sideways. Lauren grabbed the porch railing to keep from falling straight over. I'm sorry, did you just say billion with a B? Yes, ma'am. With a B, David's voice cracked with emotion. And you, Miss Simone Taylor, you just saved his life. Simone couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her brain had straight up left the building. Now hold on, Lauren said, her voice getting that edge it got when she thought somebody was running game. If this man is a billionaire, why was he begging on MLK Boulevard? Why was he dirty and hungry and sitting in a wheelchair like he ain't got nobody? That don't make no sense. David's face darkened. That, Miss Lauren, is a very long and very painful story. But the short version is this. 3 years ago, there was an accident. Young Master Jonathan's parents were killed. Was badly injured, left paralyzed from the waist down. And his uncle, his father's own brother, Victor Whitmore, David's hands clenched into fists. He stole everything. The company, the money, the properties. He had Jonathan declared mentally incompetent while he was still in the hospital recovering from his injuries. He took control of everything and then he dumped young Master Jonathan at a state facility with nothing. No money, no identification, nothing. That's his own nephew. Lauren's voice rose with righteous anger. His own blood. Yes, ma'am, his own blood. David's voice was bitter as black coffee. I have been searching for young Master Jonathan for 3 weeks. He disappeared from a shelter in East Baltimore 21 days ago. I had investigators checking every street corner, every soup kitchen, every hospital in the city. David pulled out a handkerchief and wiped his eyes, unashamed of his tears. Days ago, one of my investigators talked to a homeless veteran on MLK Boulevard. The veteran said a young woman in a red chicken delivery uniform helped a man in a wheelchair, gave him food, talked to him like he was human, not invisible. David looked directly at Simone. He said you looked at him with kind eyes, hazel eyes that reminded him of his daughter. Simone's hand flew to her mouth. It took us a day and a half to track down which delivery company, which driver, which route. We've been watching this house since last night, waiting to confirm it was really him before we approached, because if his uncle Victor finds him first. David didn't finish that sentence. He didn't have to. The fear in his eyes said everything. Wait. Simone held up her hands. Her whole body was shaking now. Y'all been watching our house since last night, for young Master's protection, yes, and yours. David gestured to the men in black suits. These are security personnel. The best in the country. Because once we move forward with reclaiming what was stolen, Victor Whitmore will become very, very dangerous. Lauren stepped forward, putting herself slightly in front of Simone. It was instinct. She'd been protecting her baby sister since their parents died in that car crash 10 years ago. "Mr. Park," Lauren said slowly, "we appreciate you explaining all this. We do. But me and my sister were just regular people. We work regular jobs. We can barely pay our own bills. We can't get caught up in no billion-dollar family drama. We can't." "I understand your concern," David interrupted gently, "and I would never ask you to put yourselves in danger, but the truth is you're already involved. The moment you brought young Master Jonathan into your home, you became part of this story." "That ain't fair," Simone whispered. "No," David agreed. "It's not fair at all. Nothing about what happened to young Master Jonathan is fair." "But you know what else isn't fair, Miss Simone?" David's voice got stronger, more passionate. "It's not fair that you work 12-hour shifts delivering food to people who don't even look you in the eye. It's not fair that Miss Lauren works double shifts at a diner and still can't afford to chase her dreams. It's not fair that you two have been struggling alone with no help, no family, no safety net. Life isn't fair. But sometimes, just sometimes, God puts people in each other's paths for a reason." Before either sister could respond, the screen door opened. Jonathan Whitmore rolled himself out onto the porch in that Goodwill wheelchair. He'd cleaned up over the past 2 days. Simone had helped him shower, and Lauren had cut his hair last night with her kitchen scissors. He was wearing one of the donated outfits they'd picked up, dark jeans and a plain white t-shirt that hung a little loose on his frame. He'd lost weight, clearly. But even thin, even in a wheelchair, even wearing Goodwill clothes, there was something about him, something in the way he held himself. The way he looked at you with those intense dark brown eyes that seemed to see straight through to your soul. He was a dark-skinned black man with the kind of bone structure that belonged on magazine covers. Strong jaw, high cheekbones, full lips. He kept his beard neat even when he'd had nothing. Simone had noticed that. Even begging on the street, his beard had been trimmed. That had told her something about who he was underneath the circumstances. "David," Jonathan said quietly. His voice was deep, smooth, educated. The kind of voice that came from prep schools and private tutors. "You found me." David rushed up the steps and dropped to his knees in front of the wheelchair. This powerful man in his expensive suit, kneeling on their dirty porch, grabbing Jonathan's hands like he was holding onto life itself. "Young master," David choked out. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't find you sooner. I failed you. I failed your father." "Stop." Jonathan's voice was firm but kind. "You didn't fail anybody, David. You're here now. That's what matters." David pressed his forehead against Jonathan's hands and wept. Fully wept like a man who'd been holding it together for too long. Simone felt her own eyes burning. Lauren reached over and grabbed her hand, squeezed it tight. This was real. This wasn't a scam or a mistake. This was real grief, real loyalty, real love between these two men. After a long moment, David composed himself and stood. He wiped his eyes again and cleared his throat. "Young master, we need to move you to a secure location immediately. I have a suite at the Four Seasons. We need to get you proper medical care, physical therapy, legal counsel." "David." Jonathan held up a hand. "Before all that, I need to do something first." He turned his wheelchair to face Simone. Their eyes met, her unique hazel, his deep brown. "Miss Taylor," Jonathan said formally, like he was in a business meeting instead of sitting on a broke-down porch in Goodwill clothes. "I need to thank you properly. 2 days ago I had given up, completely given up. I was hungry, cold, humiliated. I sat on that corner for 6 hours. Do you know how many people walked past me?" Simone shook her head, unable to speak. "Hundreds, maybe 1,000, some threw change without looking at me. Most pretended I didn't exist. A few," his voice got hard, laughed. "There were 3 women who recognized me from high school. They stood right in front of me and laughed. Talked about how fine I used to be, how all the girls wanted me, and how nobody wants a broke cripple now." Simone felt rage flash through her. "That's foul." "It was honest," Jonathan said with a sad smile. "People show you who they really are when you have nothing to offer them, but then you walked up. You looked at me, really looked at me. You said, 'Jonathan Whitmore from Mount Vernon High,'" Simone remembered. She remembered the shock on his face when she'd said his name. "And then you said something I'll never forget." Jonathan's voice got thick with emotion. "You said, 'Baby, when's the last time you ate?'" A tear rolled down Simone's cheek. "You called me baby," Jonathan continued. Like I was human, like I mattered. And then you went and made your last 3 deliveries, came back with a whole hot peppers chicken meal, the expensive one with the extra wings, and you gave it to me, your own dinner. I wasn't that hungry, Simone mumbled. You were, Lauren cut in softly. You came home and ate cereal for dinner. Don't lie, Jonathan nodded. And then you brought me here, to your home. You didn't know if I was dangerous. You didn't know if I was on drugs or crazy or violent. You just saw somebody who needed help and you helped. That's who you are, Simone Taylor, and I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret that kindness. Young master is right, David added. Whatever you need, whatever you want, it's yours. A house, yours. A car, yours. College tuition, yours. A business, we'll fund it. Name it and it's done. Simone's head was spinning. I don't want nothing, I just did what anybody should do. Most people don't do it, Jonathan said firmly. That's the point, you did, and that makes you rare, precious. The way he said precious made Simone's stomach do a weird flip. Lauren, ever practical, spoke up. Mr. Park, what happens now? What's the plan? We need to move fast, David explained. Victor Whitmore believes young master is dead or at least completely out of the picture. We have a small window to gather evidence of his fraud and embezzlement before he becomes suspicious. I've been working with lawyers and forensic accountants for months, building a case. But now that we have young master back, we can move forward. We got a problem. One of the security guards spoke up. He was a tall black man with a scar over his eyebrow. Sir, the landlord of this property just sold the building. Lauren's face went pale. What? When? The sale went through this morning, ma'am. New owner takes possession in 30 days. Bought it? Lauren demanded. The security guard's face was grim. Whitmore Enterprises. The silence was deafening. No, Simone whispered. No, that can't be random. That can't be random. It's not, David said darkly. Victor Whitmore doesn't believe in coincidences. He buys up properties in struggling neighborhoods for development, but the timing is concerning. Concerning? Lauren's voice rose. Concerning. This man just bought our home. Does he know about us? Simone asked, fear creeping into her voice. Does he know Jonathan is here? I don't believe so, David said carefully. Not yet, but Victor is paranoid. He has people watching me because he knows I was loyal to his brother. If he finds out I've been in this neighborhood asking questions. He didn't finish. Jonathan's hands gripped the arms of his wheelchair so hard his knuckles went light. This is exactly why I didn't want to involve innocent people, David. These women opened their home to me and now they're targets. Ain't targets, Lauren said firmly, her protective instincts kicking in. We're about to be homeless in 30 days, that's what we are. David reached into his suit jacket and pulled out an envelope. No, you're not. He handed it to Lauren. She opened it with shaking hands. Her eyes went wide. This is a deed to this building in our names, mine and Simone's. I purchased the building 1 hour ago, David said calmly. From the new owner, paid triple the asking price cash. The deed is being filed with the city as we speak. This is your copy. Simone couldn't breathe. You bought our building. Victor Whitmore will find out someone outbid him, David explained. But the sale went through a shell corporation. It will take him weeks to trace it back to me if he ever does. By then, we'll have already made our move. Lauren stared at the paper like it might disappear. But this is insurance, David said simply. You helped young master when he had nothing. This is us making sure you're protected. No one will take your home, not Victor Whitmore, not anyone. Simone felt tears streaming down her face now. I don't understand. We're nobody. You're the woman who saved my life, Jonathan interrupted. That makes you somebody very important to me. The way he looked at her made Simone's heart do that weird flip again. Mrs. Patterson's voice carried from next door. Gloria, pick up your phone. You are not gonna believe what's happening at the Taylor house right now. Despite everything, everyone laughed. Even Jonathan cracked a smile. We should move this conversation inside, David suggested. Before the whole neighborhood thinks we're the FBI. Baby, they already think that, Lauren said, shaking her head. But yeah, let's go in. I need to sit down before I fall down. They all moved inside, David, Jonathan, and 2 of the security guards. The rest stayed outside with the cars, which was probably giving Mrs. Patterson material for a whole month of gossip. The living room was small, cramped, with furniture from the thrift store and family photos on the wall, Simone and Lauren with their parents before the accident. The contrast between this humble space and the men in expensive suits was almost funny. David looked around with approval, not judgment. "This is a good home, full of love, I can feel it." Lauren gestured for everyone to sit. "Y'all want something to drink? We got water, Kool-Aid, or water." "Water is perfect, thank you," David said graciously. While Lauren went to the kitchen, Simone sat on the couch across from Jonathan. She still couldn't quite believe this was real. "Can I ask you something?" Simone said quietly. "Anything," Jonathan replied. "Why didn't you tell me? These past 2 days, you knew who you were. You knew you had people looking for you. Why didn't you say nothing?" Jonathan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was raw with honesty. "Because for the first time in 3 years, someone looked at me and didn't see a victim or a charity case or a mark. You just saw a person who needed help. And you helped. No questions asked. No judgment, just kindness." He paused. "I didn't want that to change. I didn't want you to start treating me different because of money or status or what I used to be. I just wanted to be human for a little while." Simone understood that. God, did she understand that? "Get it?" she said softly. "People treat you different when they think you're somebody." "Exactly." Jonathan leaned forward. "But you treated me like I was somebody when I was nobody. That's the difference. That's why." He stopped himself. "That's why what?" Simone prompted. But before he could answer, Lauren came back with glasses of water on a tray, and the moment passed. David accepted his water with a grateful nod and then got down to business. "Here's what needs to happen," he said. "Young master, we move you to the Four Seasons tonight. Get you medical care, physical therapy, proper nutrition. We need to build your strength back up." "I can walk," Jonathan said quietly. Everyone froze. David's glass stopped halfway to his mouth. "I can walk," Jonathan repeated. "Started about 6 months ago. It's not perfect. I'm not running marathons, but I can stand. I can walk short distances with a cane. The doctors said it was impossible, but..." He shrugged. "Why are you still in the wheelchair then?" Lauren asked. Jonathan's smile was small but sharp. "Because as long as Uncle Victor thinks I'm helpless, he won't see me as a threat. The wheelchair is armor." David's eyes lit up with understanding. "You brilliant young man. Your father would be so proud." "Maybe," Jonathan said, but there was doubt in his voice. Pain. Simone recognized that pain. It was the same pain she carried, wondering if dead parents would be proud of who you became when they weren't there to guide you. "They would be," Simone said firmly. "Anyone would be proud. You survived, Jonathan. That alone is enough." Gratitude in his eyes made her chest tight. "We have work to do," David continued. "I've been gathering evidence against Victor for 18 months. Financial records, witness testimonies, documentation of every illegal move he's made. But we need young master alive and competent to challenge the conservatorship in court." "How long will that take?" Lauren asked. "If we move fast, 30 days, maybe less." David pulled out a tablet and started showing them documents. "Victor has been embezzling, cooking books, making illegal deals with competitors. He's gotten sloppy because he thinks he's untouchable. We have him. We just need to spring the trap at the right moment." "What about us?" Lauren gestured to herself and Simone. "What do we do?" "You," David said seriously. "Stay safe. Keep your normal routines. Don't act suspicious. Victor has eyes everywhere. If he thinks young master has allies, he'll start investigating. We can't afford that, so we just go to work like nothing happened." Simone couldn't believe it. "Exactly like nothing happened," David confirmed. "Young master will be secured at the Four Seasons under an assumed name. You visit when you can, quietly. No social media posts, no telling friends, no." "We don't really have friends," Lauren admitted. "Just each other, and Simone's friend Jasmine from work." "You trust her?" David asked. "With my life," Simone said without hesitation. "Then you can tell her, but make her understand the stakes. One wrong word and this all falls apart." Weight of it all was crushing. Jonathan must have seen it on Simone's face because he reached across the space between them and took her hand. His grip was warm, strong. "Real? No, this is a lot." He said gently, "I know I brought chaos into your life. If you want me to disappear right now, I will. David can handle the legal stuff without me being physically present for a while. You don't owe me anything, Simone. You already saved my life. You don't have to." "Stop," Simone interrupted. She squeezed his hand back. "I ain't gonna abandon you now. That ain't who I am." "That's what I'm afraid of," Jonathan said quietly. "Your kindness could get you hurt." Or it could get me exactly where I'm supposed to be, Simone countered. The look he gave her then, it was everything. Gratitude, admiration, and something else. Something that made her stomach flutter and her heart race, something that felt dangerously close to the beginning of something neither of them were ready to name. Lauren cleared her throat loudly. Okay, so we got a plan. Y'all move Jonathan tonight. We keep going to work. We act normal. And in 30 days, we take down a billionaire crime boss. Cool. Cool. Totally normal Thursday. Despite the tension, everyone laughed. There's one more thing, David said, his tone shifting to something heavier. Victor Whitmore is dangerous in ways beyond just money and lawyers. He's had people disappear who threatened his position. Disappear, Lauren repeated flatly. You mean? I mean we don't ask questions we don't want answers to, David said carefully. Which is why young Master's security detail will also be watching this house. Discreetly. You won't see them, but they'll be there. That should make me feel better, Simone said, but honestly it just makes it more real. This man really might hurt us. Won't get the chance, Jonathan said, and there was steel in his voice, steel and something darker. I won't let him touch you, either of you. You have my word. Young Master, David said gently, perhaps we should discuss. A knock at the door cut him off. Everyone froze. One of the security guards immediately moved to the window, peeked through the curtain. It's an older white man in a suit, he reported, carrying a briefcase. Expensive car in the driveway, Mercedes S-Class. David's face went pale. Description: late 50s, gray hair, glasses, walks like he owns the place. That's Harrison Wells, David said quietly. Victor Whitmore's personal attorney. Temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. How did he find us this fast? Lauren whispered. He didn't, David said grimly. He's here about the building sale. He doesn't know about young Master. He can't know. Jonathan immediately wheeled himself toward the back bedroom. I'll hide, Simone started, but he was already moving fast and quiet. One of the security guards helped him and they disappeared into the back of the house. Another knock, louder this time, more insistent. Miss Taylor, a voice called through the door, smooth, cultured, with an edge of impatience. Miss Lauren Taylor. I need just a moment of your time. David looked at the sisters. Answer it, act confused. You don't know anything about the building sale except what you were told this morning. You're just scared tenants. Can you do that? Lauren squared her shoulders. Baby, I've been acting my whole life. I got this. She walked to the door, Simone right behind her. Lauren opened it just a crack, keeping the chain lock on. Can I help you? Harrison Wells smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He was exactly as the guard described. Expensive suit, expensive shoes, expensive watch. Everything about him screamed money and power. Good evening, ladies. I'm Harrison Wells, attorney for Whitmore Enterprises. I apologize for the intrusion, but I'm here regarding the property at 428 Ashford Street. May I come in? We already got told the building was sold, Lauren said, playing her part perfectly, tired, frustrated, a little scared. Got 30 days to figure out where we going. That's all we know. Actually, that's what I need to discuss with you. Harrison's eyes tried to look past them into the house. There's been a complication with the sale. May I come in? This will only take a moment. Now's not a good time, Simone said quickly. We got company. Company? Harrison's interest sharpened like a shark smelling blood. Anyone I should know about? My cousin from D.C., Lauren lied smoothly. He's visiting for a few days. Why you asking? Harrison's smile tightened. No reason, just making conversation. About the building, my client, Mr. Victor Whitmore, is very interested in acquiring this property. Unfortunately, someone outbid him this morning. We're prepared to offer you ladies a generous relocation package if you can tell us who the new owner is. There it was. He was fishing. We don't know nothing about that, Simone said honestly. The landlord called us this morning, said the building got sold, said we got 30 days. It's all we know. You didn't meet the new owner, Harrison pressed. No, sir. Didn't get any paperwork. Not yet. Why? Harrison studied them both carefully. Simone could feel him looking for lies, for cracks in their story. My client is willing to pay you $10,000 each for information about the new owner, Harrison said slowly. Cash today. Lauren whistled low. That's a lot of money for information we don't have. If you did have it, then we still wouldn't sell it, Lauren said firmly. Our landlord's business ain't our business. We just live here. Harrison's jaw tightened with frustration. You're making a mistake. Maybe, Lauren said, but it's our mistake to make. Now if you'll excuse us, we got family waiting. She started to close the door, but Harrison put his hand out, stopping it. "One more thing," he said, his voice dropping lower, more dangerous. "If you happen to see or hear anything unusual in the neighborhood, strangers asking questions, people watching the building, anything at all, Mr. Whitmore would appreciate a phone call." He handed Lauren a business card through the crack in the door. "There's money in it for you, good money. Mr. Whitmore takes care of people who help him." The threat was clear as day, help us or else. Lauren took the card, her face blank. "We'll keep that in mind. Good evening, Mr. Wells." This time when she pushed the door, he let it close. They watched through the window as Harrison Wells walked back to his Mercedes, made a phone call, and drove away. Only when his car disappeared around the corner did Simone let out the breath she'd been holding. "He knows something," she whispered. "Maybe," David said, emerging from where he'd been listening. "Or he's paranoid. Victor has him investigating everything because he's afraid of losing control." Jonathan rolled back into the room, his face dark with anger. "That's Victor's attack dog. If Harrison is sniffing around here, it means Victor is worried about something." "Or someone," David corrected. "We need to move. Now, young master, we're leaving immediately." "Wait," Simone said. "What if they're watching? What if they see you leave with Jonathan?" David smiled. "They won't. Watch and learn." What happened next was like something out of a movie. The security team moved with military precision. They brought in a large equipment case, the kind bands used to transport instruments. Jonathan, with some help, positioned himself inside. It looked uncomfortable, but he didn't complain. "I've been in worse places," he said with dark humor before they closed the lid. They carried the case out like they were moving equipment. Anyone watching would just see a moving company doing their job. Meanwhile, one of the guards put on a hoodie and sat in the wheelchair, head down, looking exactly like someone who was sleeping or unwell. That guard stayed behind with two others. David shook both sisters' hands formally. "Thank you for everything. We'll be in touch within 24 hours. Secure line. The number is in the envelope with the deed." "Keep him safe," Simone said, surprised by how much she meant it. "With my life," David promised. "He's like a son to me." Then they were gone. The cars pulled away one by one, smooth and quiet. Within 10 minutes, the street looked normal again. Except it would never be normal again. Simone and Lauren stood in their living room, staring at each other. "Did that really just happen?" Simone whispered. "I got a deed to a whole building in my hand," Lauren said, looking at the paper like it might bite her. "So yeah, that really just happened." "We fed a billionaire," Simone said. "You fed a billionaire. I complained about it." "You cut his hair." "With kitchen scissors." Lauren started laughing, that slightly hysterical laugh that happens when your brain can't process anymore. "I cut a billionaire's hair with the same scissors I used to cut open chicken packages." Simone started laughing too. They collapsed on the couch together, laughing until tears ran down their faces, releasing all the tension of the past hour. When they finally calmed down, Lauren looked at her little sister seriously. "Simone, baby girl, are you sure about this? We can still walk away. We can take this deed, sell the building, move somewhere else and forget this ever happened." "Could you really forget?" Simone asked. Lauren was quiet for a long moment. No, I don't think I could. That man. What happened to him ain't right. His own uncle did that, his own family." "So we help," Simone said simply. "So we help," Lauren agreed. "But Simone, I saw how he looked at you." "Don't," Simone said quickly. "I'm just saying." "Lauren, don't. He's grateful, that's all. Once he gets his life back, he'll go back to his world and we'll stay in ours." "You sure about that?" Simone thought about the way Jonathan had held her hand, the way he'd looked at her, the way he'd said precious. "No," she admitted quietly. "I'm not sure about nothing anymore." Lauren hugged her tight. Then we just take it one day at a time, together, like we always do. Together, Simone agreed. Neither of them knew that outside, in a car parked 3 blocks away, a private investigator was reviewing photos he'd just taken. Photos of 7 luxury cars, parked outside 428 Ashford Street. Photos of men in suits carrying a large case to one of those cars. Photos of Simone Taylor standing on the porch, watching them leave with an expression that looked a lot like longing. The investigator smiled and dialed a number. "Mr. Whitmore, you're going to want to hear this. That address you asked me to watch. Something very interesting just happened." I know this story has you on the edge of your seat, wondering what's going to happen to Simone and Jonathan Wright. Before we continue, I need to ask for a little favor. If you are seeing my stories for the first time, please support me by smashing that like button and drop a comment telling me what you think Victor's going to do next. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for, guys? Let's ride on with the story. Victor Whitmore stood in his home office in Roland Park, the richest neighborhood in Baltimore, staring out the floor-to-ceiling windows at his perfectly manicured lawn. He was a light-skinned black man in his early 50s, wearing a cashmere sweater that cost $3,000 and designer glasses that made him look distinguished, trustworthy even. That was the trick, looking trustworthy while doing untrustworthy things. His phone buzzed, private number. "Talk to me," Victor said, not bothering with pleasantries. "Mr. Whitmore, it's Dean. You asked me to watch that property on Ashford Street after the sale fell through." Victor's jaw tightened. Someone had outbid him for that building, paid triple the asking price in cash through a shell corporation. He didn't like mysteries, especially not in his own city. "And," Victor prompted. 7 luxury vehicles showed up this afternoon. Maybachs, Bentleys, a Rolls-Royce, high-end security personnel. They were there for about 90 minutes, then left carrying what looked like equipment cases. Victor's hand clenched around his phone. "Did you get photos?" "Sending them now." Victor's computer pinged. He opened the email and scrolled through the images. 7 black cars parked outside a rundown rental house, men in expensive suits. And then, his blood went cold, a silver-haired Korean man in wire-rimmed glasses. David Park. Son of a Victor didn't finish the curse. His mind was already racing. The 2 women who lived there, what do you know about them? Lauren and Simone Taylor, sisters, orphans, parents died in a car accident 10 years ago. Lauren's 35 works at Murphy's Diner. Simone's 25 delivers for Hot Pepper's Chicken. They're nobodies, sir, barely making rent each month. "Nobodies don't get visits from David Park," Victor said coldly. "Keep watching that house. I want to know everyone who comes and goes. I want to know what they eat for breakfast. Understand?" "Yes, sir. There's one more thing." "What?" One of the guards stayed behind. He's still in the house. Been sitting in a wheelchair by the window for the past hour. "Wheelchair?" Victor's heart stopped, then started again, pounding hard. "Description," he barked. Can't see his face clearly. He's got his head down, wearing a hoodie, but he's thin, dark-skinned, looks young. Victor ended the call and immediately dialed another number. "Harrison, get over here, now." 15 minutes later, Harrison Wells sat across from Victor in the home office, reviewing the same photos with growing concern. "David Park hasn't made a move in 3 years, Harrison said carefully. "Why now?" "Because he found something," Victor said, "or someone." "You think," Harrison hesitated, "you think Jonathan is alive?" "I think my nephew has been declared dead for 2 years, and suddenly David Park is making house calls to nobodies in the hood. What would you think?" Harrison set down the photos. "Sir, with all due respect, even if Jonathan survived, he's been gone for 3 years. He has no resources, no allies, no proof of anything. The conservatorship is ironclad. You're the legal guardian of his estate, even if he showed up tomorrow." He would challenge it in court, Victor interrupted. And unlike you, I don't underestimate that boy. His father raised him to be smart, ruthless when necessary. If David found him, they're planning something. Then we find him first, Harrison said. We can have him recommitted to the state facility, declared incompetent again. No, Victor stood, packing like a caged animal. That didn't work the first time. He escaped. If we try again and fail, it shows our hand. We need to be smarter. What do you propose? Victor smiled, but it was the smile of a predator. If Jonathan is alive and David is helping him, they'll need to gather evidence against me. That takes time. Lawyers, accountants, investigators. We have a window before they can move. We use that window to make sure there's nothing to find. Sir, the books can be cleaned. Tonight. I want every questionable transaction buried so deep God himself couldn't find it. Pull the records, offshore the accounts, create new paper trails. And those deals with Mercado distributors that violated the non-compete clause. Erase them. Harrison shifted uncomfortably. That's going to be very expensive, and very illegal if we're caught. We won't be caught, Victor said with certainty. Because while we're cleaning house, you're going to do something else for me. What's that? Find out everything about those Taylor sisters. Where they work, where they shop, who they talk to, who they sleep with. Everyone has pressure points, Harrison. We just need to find theirs. It was a Saturday morning at Simone's house. Simone woke up to her phone buzzing like crazy. 17 missed calls from her best friend Jasmine. Oh Lord, Simone muttered, calling her back. Jasmine picked up on the first ring. Simone Marie Taylor, why didn't you tell me the mafia came to your house yesterday? It wasn't the mafia, Jazz. Mrs. Patterson said 7 black cars. 7, that's mafia, FBI, or Beyoncé. Which one was it? Despite everything, Simone laughed. None of the above. Look, can you come over? I need to tell you something, but you gotta swear you won't say nothing to nobody. You pregnant? What, no? Then what's got you acting all secretive? Just come over, please. 30 minutes later, Jasmine sat in Simone's kitchen with her mouth hanging open while Simone explained everything. Well, almost everything. Jasmine Cooper was a dark-skinned black woman, 26 years old, with box braids down to her waist and the kind of personality that filled up a whole room. She also worked for Hot Pepper's Chicken, which is how they'd become best friends. Let me get this straight, Jasmine said slowly. You found a homeless man, brought him home, and he turned out to be a whole billionaire. Yes, Simone confirmed. And his evil uncle stole everything from him. Yes. And now you own this whole building. Me and Lauren, yeah. And the billionaire is fine. Simone blinked. I didn't say that. You didn't have to, I can see it on your face. Jasmine grinned. Girl, you like him. I barely know him. That ain't what I asked. Simone felt her face get hot. It don't matter what I feel. He's a billionaire, Jazz. Once he gets his life back, he ain't gonna want nothing to do with a chicken delivery girl. First of all, Jasmine said, holding up a finger, don't talk about my best friend like that. You're not just a delivery girl. You're smart, you're kind, you're beautiful. I got grease stains on all my shirts, and I smell like buffalo sauce. And you got a good heart, Jasmine continued, ignoring the interruption. That man was on the street with nothing and you helped him. That says something about you. Don't sell yourself short. Simone felt tears prick her eyes. Thanks, Jazz. Now when do I get to meet him? You don't, Simone said firmly. The less people involved, the safer everyone is. Jasmine's smile faded. It's like that. This uncle really dangerous. Yeah, real dangerous. Then you need to be careful, Simone. I'm serious. Don't trust nobody, keep your head down, and if anything feels wrong, anything, you call me. I don't care if it's 3 in the morning. I will, I promise. They hugged tight, and Simone felt a little bit better. Having someone else know the truth made it feel less like a fever dream. After Jasmine left, Simone's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is David Park. Young master would like to see you today if you're available. I can send a car at 2 p.m. DP." Simone stared at that text for a full minute before responding. "Okay." Professional, cool, like her heart wasn't trying to beat out of her chest. It was 2:00 p.m. at the Four Seasons Hotel Baltimore. The car that picked up Simone wasn't one of the flashy ones from yesterday. It was a regular black sedan driven by one of the security guards, the tall black man with the scar over his eyebrow. "Name's Marcus," he introduced himself. "I'll be your driver today, Miss Taylor. You can call me Simone." "I'm good with Miss Taylor, ma'am." But he said it with a kind smile. The Four Seasons Hotel was in Harbor East, overlooking the Baltimore waterfront. Simone had passed by it a million times making deliveries but had never been inside. When Marcus pulled up to the entrance, a valet immediately opened her door. Simone stepped out in her best outfit, a simple yellow sundress Lauren had bought her last year for church and sandals from Target. Her hair was laid as always, edges perfect, middle bun neat. She still felt completely out of place. The lobby was all marble and crystal chandeliers and people in clothes that cost more than her car. Simone kept her head up though. Lauren always told her, "Walk like you belong and people will believe you." Marcus guided her to a private elevator that required a key card. They rode up in silence to the top floor, the penthouse level. "Young master is in suite 2801, Marcus said. "Mr. Park is waiting for you." Elevator doors opened directly into a hallway with only 2 doors. Marcus knocked on the one to the left. David Park opened it and his whole face lit up. "Miss Taylor, please come in." Simone stepped inside and almost forgot how to breathe. The suite was bigger than her entire house. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the whole Baltimore harbor, the water sparkling in the afternoon sun. There was a full kitchen, a dining room, a living room with furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. "Holy," Simone caught herself. "This is where y'all staying." "Just temporary," David said modestly, "until we can secure something more permanent. Young master is in the sitting room. He's been looking forward to your visit." David led her through the suite to a smaller room where Jonathan sat in his wheelchair by the window looking out at the harbor. He changed too, wearing dark jeans and a simple white button-up shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. His beard was trimmed fresh and he looked healthy, rested. More like the Jonathan she remembered from high school. When he turned and saw her, his whole face transformed. That careful, guarded expression melted into something warm and genuine. "Simone," he said, and the way he said her name made her stomach do that flip again. "Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would." "Why wouldn't I?" "Because this," he gestured around the suite, "is a lot. I thought maybe it would scare you off." "I don't scare easy," Simone said, moving closer. "How you feeling? You look better." "I'm better. Had a full medical evaluation this morning. Doctor said I'm malnourished and underweight but otherwise remarkably healthy considering what I've been through." He smiled slightly. "Started physical therapy too. Actual physical therapy, not just me trying to walk in abandoned buildings where no one could see." "You were doing PT by yourself." Simone's heart hurt thinking about it. Didn't have much choice. But yeah, hurt like hell, but it worked. David cleared his throat. "I'll give you two some privacy. Miss Taylor, please stay as long as you like. If you need anything, just dial 0 on any phone and the staff will assist you." "Thank you, Mr. Park," Simone said. When David left, the room suddenly felt smaller, more intimate. "You want something to drink?" Jonathan asked. They got everything. Water, juice, soda, wine. Just water is good. There was a mini fridge next to his wheelchair. He pulled out 2 bottles of expensive-looking water and handed her one. Their fingers brushed. That same electric feeling from yesterday. "Can I ask you something?" Simone said, sitting in the chair across from him. "Anything. Why'd you disappear from the shelter? David said you were there and then you were just gone." Jonathan was quiet for a moment, staring at the water bottle like it held answers. "Because I overheard 2 staff members talking," he finally said. "They were saying someone had been asking about me, offering money for information." Description matched Victor's head of security. He looked up at her. "I knew if I stayed he'd find me, so I ran. Ended up on the streets, moving every night trying to stay invisible." "That's why you were begging," Simone realized. You needed money to keep moving. Yeah, needed food too, but mostly money for bus fare, for burner phones, for places to sleep where I wouldn't get robbed or worse. His voice got rough. You have no idea how invisible you become when you're in a wheelchair on the street. People look right through you, like you're not even human. I saw you, Simone said softly. I saw you, not the wheelchair, not the circumstances, you. The look he gave her then was so intense she almost looked away. That's why I wanted to see you today, Jonathan said, to say thank you properly, not just for the food or the shelter, but for seeing me, for treating me like a person when I'd almost forgotten I was one. You don't gotta keep thanking me. Yes, I do. He rolled his wheelchair closer until he was right in front of her. Simone, you saved my life, not just physically, but I was giving up. I was so tired of fighting, of running, of being afraid. I was starting to think maybe Victor was right. Maybe I should just disappear, let him have it all, stop fighting. You didn't give up, Simone pointed out, because you reminded me who I was, who I'm supposed to be. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and took her hand. My father used to say that you can tell everything about a person by how they treat people who can do nothing for them. You had nothing to gain from helping me. You did it anyway. That's character. That's the kind of person my father would have respected. Simone felt tears building. I wish I could have met him. Would have loved you, Jonathan said with certainty. My mother too. She was a lot like you actually. Kind to everybody. Saw the best in people even when they didn't deserve it. That what got her killed? Simone asked gently. Jonathan's face went dark. Yeah, she trusted the wrong person, trusted family. He practically spat the last word. What happened? If you don't mind me asking. Jonathan was quiet for so long Simone thought he wouldn't answer. Then he started talking, his voice flat, like he was reading a report instead of reliving trauma. 3 years ago, there was an issue at one of our factories in Texas. Equipment malfunction, potential contamination of a whole batch of product. My father flew out to handle it personally. My mother went with him because they did everything together. A sad smile. 30 years married and they still acted like newlyweds. Simone squeezed his hand, encouraging him to continue. Victor was supposed to check the equipment before they arrived. He was the VP of operations, that was his job, but he didn't. Later, we found out he'd been skimming money from the maintenance budget for months. The equipment that malfunctioned hadn't been serviced in over a year. God, Simone whispered. There was an explosion. A valve burst, released pressurized steam and chemicals. My father and mother were both killed instantly. I was touring the facility on the other side of the building. The blast knocked me into a wall, damaged my spine. Doctors said I'd never walk again. You did, Simone said. You proved them wrong. Eventually. But while I was in the hospital, barely conscious, Victor moved fast. He had himself appointed conservator of my estate, claiming I was mentally incompetent from the head injury. He had doctors sign off on it, doctors he paid. By the time I was aware enough to fight, he'd already taken control of everything. How is that legal? It's not. But it is legal if no one challenges it. And who is going to challenge it? I was a 25-year-old kid with no allies, no money, no proof. Victor made sure of that. What about David? Victor fired David the same week. Accused him of financial misconduct, completely fabricated charges. David tried to fight, tried to help me, but Victor had lawyers, money, power. David had nothing but loyalty. Jonathan's voice got thick, but he never gave up. He spent 3 years gathering evidence, building a case, looking for me. He used his own savings, sold his house, lived in cheap hotels, all to find me and make this right. Simone thought about David Park crying on their porch yesterday, and it all made sense now. He loves you, she said. Like a son. Loved my father, Jonathan corrected. And he's honoring that love by protecting me. That's the kind of loyalty money can't buy. That's the kind of loyalty you showed me. I just did what anybody should do. Most people don't, Jonathan insisted. That's my whole point. You think you're ordinary, Simone, but you're not. You're extraordinary, and I need you to know that. The way he was looking at her, Lord have mercy, the way he was looking at her made Simone feel like she was the only person in the entire world. Jonathan. She started but didn't know how to finish. He seemed to understand. He released her hand and rolled back a little, giving her space. I'm sorry, he said quickly. I'm coming on too strong. You barely know me, and here I am talking about. No, Simone interrupted. You're not coming on too strong, this is a lot. 2 days ago you were begging on the street, now you're in a penthouse suite telling me you're a billionaire. My brain is still catching up. Enough, Jonathan smiled. Then let's start over. Hi, I'm Jonathan Whitmore. I went to Mount Vernon High, graduated 2013. I like jazz music, old movies, and reading science fiction novels. I'm allergic to shellfish, I can't dance to save my life, and I talk to myself when I'm doing math. Your turn. Simone laughed, feeling the tension break. Hi, I'm Simone Taylor. I graduated Mount Vernon in 2017. Yeah, I'm younger than you, old man. I'm 28. Like I said, old. She grinned. I like R&B music, reality TV that's probably rotting my brain, and romance novels. I can cook exactly 3 things good: fried chicken, spaghetti, and chocolate chip cookies. I sing in the shower, I cry at dog videos, and I'm scared of birds. Birds? Jonathan raised an eyebrow. They got dead eyes and they move too fast. Don't trust them. He laughed, really laughed, and the sound filled up the whole room with warmth. They talked for the next hour about everything and nothing. High school memories, favorite foods, embarrassing moments. Jonathan told her about college at Howard University, studying business and economics. Simone told him about dropping out of community college after 1 semester because she couldn't afford it and her parents' life insurance had run out. What were you studying? Jonathan asked. Nursing. I wanted to help people, you know. But between tuition and books and Lauren losing her job that same semester, something had to give. If you could go back to college, Simone shook her head. That ship sailed. I'm 25. By the time I finished, I'd be almost 30. You're going to be 30 anyway. Might as well be 30 with a degree doing something you love. Simone had never thought about it like that. Before she could respond, there was a knock at the door. David entered with another man, a white guy, late 30s, sandy brown hair, blue eyes, wearing jeans and a button-up shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He carried a guitar case. Young master, sorry to interrupt, David said, but Mr. Cross just arrived from New York. He wanted to see you right away. The white guy, Mr. Cross, rushed past David and grabbed Jonathan in a bear hug so tight he almost pulled him out of the wheelchair. Johnny, man, when David called me and said you were alive, I thought he was playing a sick joke. Can't breathe, Ethan, Jonathan wheezed, but he was smiling. Ethan Cross released him and stepped back, wiping his eyes unashamedly. Dude, we thought you were dead. I went to your memorial service. I cried. Sorry to disappoint you, Jonathan said dryly. Disappoint? I'm about to throw you a whole second funeral just so we can celebrate properly. Ethan's eyes landed on Simone. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you had company. I'm Ethan Cross, Johnny's college roommate and current pain in his ass. Simone Taylor, she said, shaking his hand. I'm the one who found him. Ethan's eyes went wide. You're the angel David told me about, the one who brought him home and fed him and protected him. I wouldn't say angel. I would, Jonathan cut in, looking right at her. Ethan glanced between them and grinned. Oh, this is interesting. Don't start, Jonathan warned. I'm not starting anything, I'm just observing. David cleared his throat. Mr. Cross, perhaps we should discuss business. We have much to plan. Right. Ethan's expression turned serious. Johnny, I brought my lawyers, best entertainment lawyers in New York. They're ready to help with whatever you need. Entertainment lawyers? Simone asked. Ethan's a music producer, Jonathan explained. He's worked with everybody, Beyoncé, Alicia Keys, John Legend. And now I work for myself, Ethan added. Got my own label, my own studio. Which reminds me, David said you have a sister. Yeah, Lauren, Simone confirmed. Why? David mentioned she writes songs. I'd love to hear her stuff if she's willing to share. Simone thought about Lauren's notebooks full of lyrics, hidden in her closet because Trevor had destroyed her confidence so badly she wouldn't even sing in front of people anymore. I can ask her, Simone said carefully, but she's been hurt before. Someone stole her work, took credit for it. She don't trust easy. Ethan's face darkened. What's the person's name? Trevor Morrison. He got a few songs on the radio now. Trevor Morrison. Ethan pulled out his phone, typed something, then looked up with disgust. That hack. He didn't write those songs. I knew something was off. The lyrics were too good for his basic ass. That's because Lauren wrote them, Simone said, feeling anger rise. They dated for 5 years. She helped him with everything, wrote all his best stuff. Then soon as he got a record deal, he left her. Didn't give her credit, didn't give her money, nothing. Well, isn't that interesting? Ethan said slowly, his mind clearly working. Because if she has proof she wrote those songs, drafts, early recordings, anything, we could sue him for copyright infringement. Get her the credit and the royalties she deserves. Simone's heart jumped. For real. For real, music theft is serious business. If she's got evidence, I've got lawyers who would love this case. I'll talk to her, Simone promised. They talked for a while longer, Ethan telling stories about college with Jonathan, making everyone laugh. But eventually, Simone noticed the time. I should go, she said reluctantly. Lauren's gonna worry. I'll have Marcus drive you home, David offered. Thank you, Simone stood, and Jonathan immediately rolled his wheelchair to follow her to the door. Simone, he said quietly out of earshot of the others, will you come back, tomorrow maybe? You want me to? More than you know. There it was again, that intensity in his eyes that made her feel seen, valued, wanted. Okay, she said softly, tomorrow. His smile could have lit up the whole city. On a Sunday afternoon at Simone's house. Simone had just finished telling Lauren about Ethan Cross and the possibility of suing Trevor when there was a knock at the door. If that's Mrs. Patterson coming to be nosy again, Lauren started. But when they opened the door, it was Ethan himself, standing there with his guitar case and that easy smile. Hope I'm not intruding, he said. I asked David for your address. Johnny said you might be able to use some help with a legal situation, and I wanted to discuss it in person if that's cool. Lauren looked at Simone. This the music producer? Yep. And he just shows up at people's houses unannounced. Apparently, Simone said, trying not to laugh at Lauren's suspicious face. I should have called first, Ethan admitted. That was rude. I just get excited about music stuff and don't think. I can go if you want. No, come in, Lauren said, stepping aside. Just wasn't expecting company. Place is a mess. It wasn't a mess at all. Lauren kept their house spotless, but Simone understood. Lauren was nervous. Ethan sat on the couch, completely comfortable in their modest living room like he'd been there 100 times. So Simone told you about Trevor, Ethan started. Do you have any proof you wrote those songs? Lauren disappeared into her room and came back with a worn notebook. She handed it to Ethan like she was handing over her heart. He opened it carefully, reading the pages, and Simone watched his expression change from curious to impressed to absolutely stunned. These are, Ethan looked up at Lauren. These are incredible. The imagery, the wordplay, the emotional depth. This is real songwriting. Not that manufactured radio stuff, but real art. Lauren's eyes filled with tears. You think so? I know so. And this, he pointed to a specific page, this is Midnight Thoughts by Trevor Morrison, word for word. You wrote this. 2 years ago, January 15th, 2022. I remember because it was snowing and Lauren had just told me he was leaving. Lauren's voice was bitter. I poured my whole heart into that song. He took it and didn't even change a single word. Do you have a dated copy? Email drafts, voice memos, anything time-stamped. I got voice memos on my old phone. I used to record myself singing the melodies so I wouldn't forget them. Perfect, that's copyrightable evidence. We can prove you wrote it before he released it. Ethan's smile was fierce. And you know what else? You could write and publish your own version. Get it on streaming platforms. Let people hear the real artist behind the work. I can't sing like that no more, Lauren said quietly. Trevor, he He made me feel like I wasn't good enough, like my voice was too raw, too rough. Not commercial enough. May I hear you sing? Ethan asked gently. Now. Only if you want to. Lauren looked at Simone. Simone nodded encouragingly. Okay, Lauren said nervously, but don't expect nothing professional. She closed her eyes, took a breath, and started singing one of her own songs, something Simone had heard her hum while cooking but never fully perform. The moment Lauren's voice filled the room, everything stopped. She had a voice like honey and smoke, smooth but with edges, beautiful but with pain underneath. It was the kind of voice that made you feel everything all at once. When she finished, there was silence. Ethan was staring at her like he just witnessed a miracle. Lauren, he said slowly, your voice isn't too raw. It's perfect. It's authentic. It's the kind of voice people spend thousands in vocal coaching trying to achieve. Trevor told you that lie because he was threatened by your talent. Lauren's hand flew to her mouth, tears streaming now. And I'm going to prove it to you, Ethan continued. With your permission, I want to record you, really record you, my studio, professional equipment, the whole thing. Let you hear yourself the way the world should hear you. I can't afford. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for a chance to work with real talent for once. I'm tired of producing manufactured pop stars who can't write their own name without auto-tune. You, Lauren Taylor, are the real deal. Simone watched her sister transform right in front of her eyes. The bitter, guarded woman who'd given up on dreams was slowly being replaced by the girl who used to sing while doing dishes, who used to write songs at the kitchen table, who used to believe she could be somebody. Okay, Lauren whispered. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Ethan's smile could have powered the whole city. What will happen when Victor discovers where Simone has been going? And will Lauren finally get the recognition she deserves? Drop a comment and let me know what you think is going to happen next. Let's get on with the story. Monday morning at Victor's office. Victor Whitmore sat behind his massive desk at Whitmore Dairy headquarters, staring at new photos his investigator had sent. Photos of Simone Taylor entering the Four Seasons Hotel on Saturday. Photos of her leaving 3 hours later, smiling. Photos of a white man, identified as Ethan Cross, music producer, entering the Taylor house on Sunday. They're building an army, Victor said to Harrison Wells, who stood across from him. David Park, Ethan Cross, probably more we don't know about, all protecting my nephew. We don't know for certain it's Jonathan, Harrison pointed out. Then explain why David Park is suddenly taking meetings with nobody delivery girls and why Ethan Cross, who was Jonathan's college roommate, is suddenly in Baltimore visiting broke waitresses. Harrison had no answer. I want full surveillance on both sisters, Victor ordered. Tap their phones if you can. I want to know every move they make, every person they talk to, and I want pressure applied. What kind of pressure? Victor's smile was cold. The kind that makes people realize helping my nephew is more trouble than it's worth. That night at Simone's house. Simone was getting ready for bed when her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Heavy breathing on the other end. Hello, Simone repeated, her heart rate picking up. Stop, a distorted voice said, male but electronically altered. Stop helping him. This is your only warning. The line went dead. Simone's hands shook so bad she dropped the phone. Lauren, she called out, her voice cracking. Lauren rushed in. What's wrong? Someone just called. They told me to stop helping him. They said it was my only warning. Lauren's face went hard. Call David right now. Simone did. David answered on the second ring, and when she explained what happened, his voice went cold as ice. Pack a bag, he said. Both of you, you're not staying in that house tonight. But, young master will never forgive me if something happens to you. Pack light. A car will be there in 10 minutes. True to his word, Marcus showed up in exactly 10 minutes. He helped them load 2 small overnight bags and drove them straight to the Four Seasons. Jonathan was waiting in the lobby when they arrived, and the look on his face when he saw how shaken Simone was, pure rage, barely controlled. "I'm going to kill him," Jonathan said quietly. "Young master," David started. "I don't care, David," he threatened her. He threatened them. Victor just crossed a line he can't uncross. "We don't know it was Victor," David said carefully. "Who else would it be?" Jonathan demanded. He was standing now, Simone noticed. Standing without the wheelchair, leaning on a cane, but standing tall and strong and absolutely furious. "We knew this would happen," David said. "We knew once Victor realized we were moving, he would escalate. That's why we prepared for it." "Prepared how?" Lauren demanded. "Because a threatening phone call is one thing, but what's next? What if he sends someone to hurt us?" "He won't get the chance," Jonathan said firmly. "You're staying here, both of you. We have security, we have resources. You'll be safe." "We can't just move into a hotel," Simone protested. "We got jobs, responsibilities." "Your job can wait," Jonathan said. "Your life can't." The way he looked at her, like she was the most precious thing in the world, made Simone's argument die in her throat. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, we'll stay." "Thank you," Jonathan said, and she could see him physically relax. David showed them to a suite 2 doors down from Jonathan's, just as luxurious, just as overwhelming. After David left them to settle in, Lauren turned to Simone with raised eyebrows. "Girl," Lauren said slowly, "that man is in love with you." "Stop." "I'm serious. Did you see his face when we walked in? He looked ready to go to war for you." "He's just grateful." "Simone Marie, I have been on this earth 10 years longer than you. I know what gratitude looks like, and I know what love looks like. That man is falling for you if he hasn't already fallen." Simone sat on the edge of the hotel bed, her mind spinning. "What if he is?" she asked quietly. "What then? He's a billionaire, Lauren. Once this is all over, once he gets his company back, he's gonna go back to his world. Penthouses and private jets and galas. And I'm gonna go back to delivering chicken. We don't make sense." Lauren sat next to her and took her hand. "Listen to me, baby girl. I wasted 5 years of my life with a man who made me feel small, who took my work, my dreams, my confidence and used them for himself. I thought I loved him, but really I just loved who I thought he could be. Don't make the same mistake I did." "What mistake?" "Don't judge Jonathan by what he has. Judge him by what he does. And what he's doing right now is protecting you, respecting you, valuing you. That's worth more than all the money in the world." Simone felt tears building. "I'm scared, Lauren. I'm scared of getting hurt." "I know, baby. But being scared ain't a reason not to live. Sometimes the best things in life are on the other side of fear." They hugged tight, and Simone let herself cry, for everything that had happened in the past few days, for the fear she'd been holding in, for the possibility that maybe, just maybe, something real was building between her and Jonathan. The next morning, Simone woke up to someone knocking softly on the suite door. She opened it to find Jonathan standing there. No wheelchair, just leaning on a sleek black cane, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Morning," he said with a soft smile. "Wasn't sure how you take your coffee, so I got you a vanilla latte. If you don't like it, I can order something else." "That's perfect," Simone said, accepting the cup. "Thank you. We talk?" he asked. "Just for a few minutes." She stepped into the hallway, closing the door quietly so Lauren could sleep. They walked to a sitting area by the window overlooking the harbor. The morning sun made the water look like liquid gold. "I'm sorry," Jonathan said as soon as they sat down. "What? For bringing danger into your life, for not protecting you better, for—" "Jonathan, stop." Simone set down her coffee and took his free hand. "You didn't ask for none of this. Your uncle is the one making threats, not you. Stop apologizing for things that aren't your fault. If I hadn't been on that street corner, then I would have never known you were alive, and you would have never gotten a chance to reclaim your life. Everything happens for a reason, Jonathan. Maybe I was supposed to find you. Maybe this is exactly where we're both supposed to be. He looked at their joined hands, then back at her face. Can I be honest with you about something? He asked quietly. Always. I'm terrified, he admitted. Terrified that once this is over, once I get the company back and life returns to normal, you'll realize I'm just some guy. Not worth the trouble you went through. Not worth— Stop, Simone interrupted. You think I care about the company, the money? Jonathan, I met you when you had nothing. I brought you home when you had nothing to offer me. And I'm here now not because of what you might give me, but because of who you are. His eyes were bright with unshed tears. Smart, Simone continued. You're kind. You're strong even when you think you're weak. You treat people with respect. You love David like family even though he's not blood. You fight even when everything is against you. That's who you are. That's the man I'm getting to know. And that's the man she stopped herself, suddenly realizing what she was about to say. Man, you what? Jonathan prompted softly. Simone took a breath. Chose honesty. Man I could fall for if I let myself. Smile that spread across Jonathan's face was like sunrise. Then let yourself, he said. Because I've already started falling for you, Simone. From the moment you called me baby and asked when I'd eaten last. You saw me, the real me, and I've been falling ever since. He leaned forward slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met soft and careful, like something precious that might break. It was a first kiss full of promise, of possibility, of two people finding each other in the middle of chaos and choosing to hold on. When they pulled apart, Simone was crying and smiling at the same time. This is crazy, she whispered. Completely crazy, he agreed. But maybe the best things are. A throat cleared loudly. They both jumped and turned to find Lauren standing there with her arms crossed and a huge grin on her face. Y'all are adorable, Lauren announced. But also, David's looking for you, Jonathan. He said something about the lawyers arriving. And Simone, Ethan wants to talk to me about recording, and I need you to tell me if I'm being crazy for even considering it. Just like that, the spell was broken, but the promise remained. Jonathan stood, steadying himself with the cane, and looked at Simone one more time. To be continued, he said. To be continued, she agreed. Later that day, while Ethan and Lauren discussed recording contracts in one suite, David gathered Jonathan and Simone in another to discuss strategy. We have enough evidence to move forward, David explained, showing them documents on his tablet. Financial records proving Victor embezzled over $20 million in the past 3 years. Testimony from employees he threatened. Documentation of the falsified medical reports used to declare you incompetent. When do we strike? Jonathan asked. Friday. We've scheduled an emergency board meeting. All the major shareholders will be there. We present the evidence, they vote to remove Victor and reinstate you as CEO. And Victor won't see it coming, Simone asked. He'll suspect something, which is why we're moving fast. We file the legal documents Thursday night, give him no time to prepare a defense. By Friday afternoon, it will all be over. What about the threats? Jonathan demanded. What about Simone and Lauren's safety? Security stays on them 24/7 until this is resolved. No exceptions. Jonathan nodded, but Simone could see the tension in his jaw. There's one more thing, David said carefully. Young master, if we do this, if we take back the company, it will consume your life for a while. Interviews, legal proceedings, rebuilding what Victor destroyed. It will be months, maybe years of intense work. I know, Jonathan said. And during that time, your personal life will be under scrutiny. The media will investigate everyone close to you. Including, David's eyes flicked to Simone, anyone you're in a relationship with. Implication was clear. Simone felt her stomach drop. You're saying I'll be a target. I'm saying you'll be a topic of interest, David corrected gently. The media will want to know who you are, where you came from, everything about you. It can be overwhelming. This you telling me to stay away from Jonathan? Simone asked directly. No, Jonathan said immediately. David, that's not. I'm simply making sure Miss Taylor understands what she's signing up for, David said calmly. I care about young master's happiness, but I also care about yours, Miss Taylor. This life, it's not easy. The scrutiny, the pressure, the constant judgment. You deserve to make an informed choice. Simone looked at Jonathan, who looked absolutely terrified that she was about to walk away. Appreciate you looking out for me, Mr. Park, Simone said slowly. I do. But I'm not some delicate flower that's gonna wilt under pressure. I've been through hard things. Lost my parents, struggled to survive, watched my sister sacrifice her dreams to keep us afloat. I'm stronger than I look. Don't doubt your strength. Then don't treat me like I can't handle the truth, Simone interrupted. Yeah, the media attention will be hard. Yeah, people will judge me. But you know what? People been judging me my whole life for being poor, for having dead parents, for working a job they look down on. I survived all that. I'll survive this too. She looked at Jonathan. If this is what I gotta go through to be with you, then that's what I'll do. I'm not scared of hard things. I'm only scared of giving up something real because of what might happen. Jonathan's expression was pure awe. Simone. But she continued, holding up a finger, I need you to be real with me. Always, no hiding stuff to protect me, no making decisions about my life without me. We do this, we do it as partners, equal partners. Deal? Jonathan crossed his heart. Deal, I promise. David smiled, and there was respect in his eyes. Miss Taylor, I believe you're exactly what young master needs. Welcome to the family. That night, while Simone and Jonathan celebrated with David and the legal team in another part of Baltimore, Victor Whitmore got a phone call. Sir, we have a problem, Harrison Wells said. David Park just filed a petition with the court to overturn the conservatorship. Emergency hearing scheduled for Friday morning. Victor's hand clenched around his phone. Friday, that's 3 days. Yes, sir, and there's more. He subpoenaed all the financial records, all the medical files, everything. He's built a case, Victor, a real case. Then we tear it apart. With what? The evidence against us is overwhelming. If they prove you falsified those medical reports, you're not just losing the company, you're going to prison. Victor was silent for a long moment. Then we make sure the case never makes it to court, he said coldly. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that sometimes problems solve themselves. Accidents happen. People disappear. Do you understand what I'm saying, Harrison? Victor, if you're talking about what I think you're talking about. I'm not talking about anything, Victor interrupted. I'm simply observing that life is unpredictable. Now, do you want to keep your job or do you want to develop a conscience? Harrison was quiet. That's what I thought, Victor said. Make the arrangements, and Harrison, make it look natural. No witnesses, no evidence, no mistakes. Yes, sir. Victor ended the call and poured himself a scotch, staring out at the Baltimore skyline. He'd worked too hard, sacrificed too much to lose it all to some nephew who should have stayed dead. If Jonathan wanted a war, Victor would give him one. And in war, there were always casualties. Back at the Four Seasons, Simone couldn't sleep. Too much adrenaline, too much emotion, too much everything. She stepped out onto the balcony of her suite, breathing in the night air, watching the lights of the city reflect on the harbor water. A sound made her turn. Jonathan stood in the doorway, leaning on his cane, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. Couldn't sleep either, he asked. Too much on my mind, Simone admitted. He joined her at the railing, and they stood in comfortable silence for a moment. You didn't have to defend me to David, Jonathan said quietly. If you want to step back if this is too much. It's not too much, Simone interrupted. I meant what I said. I'm not going anywhere. Even if things get ugly, especially if things get ugly, that's when you need people the most. He took her hand, laced their fingers together. I don't deserve you, he said softly. Yes, you do. You deserve someone who sees you for who you are. And I do, Jonathan, I see you. Kissed again, slower this time, deeper, full of promise and hope and the beginning of something neither of them could name yet but both of them could feel. When they pulled apart, Jonathan rested his forehead against hers. Friday changes everything, he whispered. Once we take down Victor, once I get the company back, my whole life shifts. But I need you to know something, Simone. No matter what happens, no matter how crazy things get, you are my priority. Not the money, not the company, not the empire. You promise, she whispered back. Promise. They stood like that for a long time, holding each other under the Baltimore stars, neither of them knowing that in another part of the city, a man was being paid to make sure they never got their happy ending. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think Victor's going to succeed? What's going to happen at that board meeting on Friday? And are you ready for what's coming? If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit that button, turn on notifications, so that you won't miss out on stories like these. It was a Wednesday morning at Four Seasons Hotel. Simone woke up to sunlight streaming through the hotel windows and the smell of fresh coffee. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then everything from the past few days came rushing back. The threatening phone call, moving to the Four Seasons, kissing Jonathan on the balcony. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jasmine. Girl, where are you? You didn't show up for your shift yesterday and boss is pissed. Call me ASAP. Simone's stomach dropped. In all the chaos, she'd completely forgotten about work. She quickly dialed Jasmine's number. Simone. Jasmine answered on the first ring. Where have you been? Mr. Chen is threatening to fire you. I know. Jazz, I can't explain everything right now, but I need you to tell Mr. Chen I had a family emergency. I'll come in tomorrow and explain everything. Family emergency. Jasmine's voice dropped to a whisper. This about that billionaire situation. Yeah. It bad. Simone thought about the threatening phone call, about Victor Whitmore plotting somewhere in the city, about everything that could go wrong in the next 2 days. It might be, Simone admitted. But I'm safe. Lauren's safe. We're staying somewhere secure until this all gets resolved. When's that gonna be? Friday. Everything goes down Friday. Jasmine was quiet for a moment. You be careful, you hear me. I don't care how much money that man got, your life is worth more. I know, I love you, Jazz. You too, girl. And Simone, when this is all over, you better tell me everything. After they hung up, Simone found Lauren in the suite's kitchen making breakfast in silk pajamas with her burgundy scarf wrapped perfectly around her head. Morning, baby girl, Lauren said, flipping pancakes like she'd been cooking in luxury hotel kitchens her whole life. You sleep okay? Better than I have in weeks, honestly. This bed is like sleeping on a cloud. Simone poured herself coffee. You seem happy. Lauren's smile was radiant. Ethan's taking me to his studio today. We're gonna record a demo, a real professional demo, Simone, me, in a real recording studio. That's amazing, Simone hugged her sister tight. I'm so proud of you. I'm terrified, Lauren admitted. What if I get in there and freeze? What if my voice don't sound good on the recording? What if— Stop, Simone interrupted. You got a gift, Lauren, a real gift. Ethan sees it, I see it, and soon the whole world's gonna see it. You just gotta believe in yourself. When you get so wise, I learned from the best. Simone squeezed her sister's hand. You spent 10 years taking care of me, putting your dreams on hold so I could survive. Now it's your turn, take it. Lauren's eyes filled with tears. How'd I get so lucky to have you as my sister? We got lucky to have each other. They were having breakfast when there was a knock at the door. Simone opened it to find David Park, dressed impeccably as always with a warm smile. Good morning, ladies, David said with a small bow. I hope you slept well. Bobby's, Lauren confirmed. You want some pancakes, Mr. Park? I made too many. That would be wonderful, thank you. They sat around the suite's dining table, something Simone never thought she'd do with a CFO of a billion-dollar company, eating pancakes and talking like old friends. Young master asked me to check on you both, David said. He's in meetings with the lawyers all morning preparing for Friday. But he wanted to make sure you had everything you needed. We're good, Simone said. But Mr. Park, can I ask you something? Of course. How dangerous is Victor? Like really dangerous? David set down his fork, his expression turning serious. Victor Whitmore is a man who has killed before, though it's never been proven. The accident that took young master's parents, I don't believe it was an accident. I believe Victor sabotaged that equipment deliberately. Lauren's hand flew to her mouth. He killed his own brother. Greed makes people do terrible things, David said quietly. Victor lived his whole life in his older brother's shadow. James, young master's father, was everything Victor wasn't. Successful, beloved, brilliant. Victor convinced himself he deserved what James had, and when jealousy turned to hatred, he took it. Now he's threatening us, Simone said, which is why you have around-the-clock protection. Marcus and his team are the best in the business. Former Secret Service, military special forces, they won't let anything happen to you. What about after Friday? Lauren asked. After Jonathan gets the company back. Victor's not just gonna disappear, David agreed. But he will be arrested. We have evidence not just of embezzlement, but of the falsified medical records, the illegal conservatorship, and several other crimes. Once we present it to the board and the authorities, Victor will spend the rest of his life in prison. You sound certain, Simone observed. David's smile was sharp. I've spent 3 years building this case, Miss Taylor. I didn't leave any room for doubt. After breakfast, David excused himself and Ethan arrived to pick up Lauren for the studio session. Ethan looked excited, carrying 2 coffee cups and wearing a vintage band t-shirt with his jeans. You ready to make magic? Ethan asked Lauren with that easy smile of his. Lauren looked nervous but determined. As ready as I'll ever be. You got this, sis, Simone encouraged. After they left, Simone found herself alone in the suite. She thought about calling Jonathan, but David had said he was in meetings. She didn't want to bother him. Instead, she took a long shower, got dressed in the clothes they'd hastily packed, and was trying to figure out what to do with her day when there was another knock. This time it was Jonathan himself, leaning on his cane, wearing dark jeans and a fitted black t-shirt that showed off arms that were getting stronger every day. "Hey," he said, and just seeing him made Simone's heart do that flip. "You busy?" "Not even a little bit." "Good. I need a break from lawyers and paperwork. Want to take a walk with me?" "A walk? You sure you're up for it?" "I've been doing physical therapy every morning. My therapist says walking is good for building strength. Plus, I have security following us anyway, so we might as well give them something to do," Simone laughed. "Okay, let's walk." They took the elevator down to the Harbor Walk, a beautiful path along the Baltimore waterfront with views of the water and the city skyline. Marcus and another guard followed at a discreet distance. Jonathan walked slowly, steady on his cane, and Simone matched his pace. "You feeling about Friday?" Simone asked, terrified, excited, angry, all of it at once. Jonathan paused, watching a sailboat glide across the harbor. "I keep thinking about my parents, about how they built this company from nothing. My grandfather started with one small dairy farm in 1952. My father turned it into an empire, and Victor almost destroyed it all in 3 years. He didn't," Simone pointed out, "because you're still here, you survived, and you're about to take back what's yours." "We're about to take it back," Jonathan corrected. "I couldn't do this without David, without Ethan's legal team, without you. I didn't do nothing but feed you some chicken." Jonathan stopped walking and turned to face her fully. "You did everything. You reminded me I was worth saving. You looked at me when I was at my absolute lowest and saw something worth protecting. That's not nothing, Simone, that's everything." Intensity in his dark brown eyes made Simone's breath catch. "Need to tell you something," Jonathan continued. "And I need to say it now before Friday, before everything changes." "Okay," Simone said softly. "When I get the company back, my life is going to be insane for a while. Press conferences, interviews, rebuilding the business, legal battles. It's going to consume every hour of every day for months, maybe longer." Simone's heart sank. This sounded like the beginning of a goodbye. "But through all of that," Jonathan continued, reaching for her hand, "I want you there. Not as some secret I'm hiding, not as someone I see when I have time, but as my partner, by my side, publicly, proudly, if you'll have me. Jonathan, I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other for less than a week. But Simone, I've never been more certain about anything in my life. You're it for me. You're the one." Simone felt tears building. "You sure? Because once you go public with a broke delivery girl, the media's gonna tear you apart." "Them try," Jonathan said fiercely. "You're not a broke delivery girl. You're Simone Taylor, the woman who saved my life, who sees people for who they really are, who loves her sister enough to sacrifice everything. You're the woman I'm falling in love with. And I don't care what anybody thinks about that. You're falling in love with me," Simone whispered, completely, hopelessly, absolutely. He cupped her face with his free hand. "Are you okay with that?" Instead of answering with words, Simone kissed him. Right there on the Harbor Walk, with tourists passing by and Marcus pretending not to watch, she kissed him like he was oxygen and she'd been drowning. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Jonathan was smiling like Christmas morning. "I'll take that as a yes," he said. "That's a yes," Simone confirmed. "I'm falling for you too, Jonathan. Probably have been since you held my hand in my living room and called me precious." They walked a little longer, hand in hand, talking about everything and nothing. Jonathan told her about his plans for the company, modernizing the factories, improving worker conditions, expanding into sustainable farming practices. Simone told him about her dream of going back to school for nursing, maybe opening a free clinic in her neighborhood someday. "We could fund that," Jonathan said immediately. "The company has a charitable foundation. We could." "No," Simone interrupted gently. "If I do it, I want to do it myself. Earn it, not because my boyfriend's rich, but because I worked for it." "Boyfriend?" Jonathan's smile was huge. "I mean, if you want to be, I just assumed." "I very much want to be your boyfriend," Jonathan confirmed. Official and everything. They were heading back to the hotel when Jonathan's phone rang. He checked it and his face went pale. "It's the hospital," he said. "The one where my parents died. They're calling from the records department." He answered, putting it on speaker. "Mr. Whitmore," a woman's voice said. "This is Patricia Chen from University Medical Center Records Department. I'm calling because someone requested your parents' autopsy reports this morning, and our policy is to notify next of kin." "Requested them?" Jonathan asked, his voice tight. "I can't give you that information, but I wanted you to know in case you wanted to request a copy yourself before we release them." "Don't release anything," Jonathan said immediately. "I'm their next of kin, and I'm formally requesting you deny that request and flag the files." "I can do that, sir. I'll make a note in the system." After he hung up, Jonathan looked at Simone. "Victor, he's trying to make sure there's no evidence of what he did. You can stop him, right?" "I can delay him." "But Simone, if he's desperate enough to go after medical records from 3 years ago, he's desperate enough to do something drastic." As if summoning trouble by speaking it, Marcus suddenly appeared beside them, his hand on his earpiece. "Sir, we need to get you back to the hotel immediately," Marcus said urgently. "What happened?" Jonathan demanded. "Someone just tried to break into the Taylor sisters' house on Ashford Street. Neighbors called it in. Police are on scene now." Simone's blood went cold. "Was anyone hurt?" "No, ma'am, the house was empty, but whoever did it knew exactly what they were looking for. They tore the place apart." On Wednesday afternoon, Ashford Street, by the time they got back to Simone's house, there were 2 police cars outside and neighbors gathered on the street. Mrs. Patterson was giving a statement to an officer, gesturing wildly. Simone and Jonathan went inside, and Simone's heart broke. Everything was destroyed. The couch cushions were slashed, the TV smashed, drawers emptied and thrown. Her parents' photos had been ripped from the walls. "Oh my God," Simone whispered, picking up a broken picture frame. It was her favorite photo of her parents, her dad holding her mom, both of them laughing. The glass was shattered, the photo torn. Lauren arrived with Ethan right behind her. When she saw the destruction, she let out a sound like a wounded animal. "My notebooks," Lauren said, rushing to her room. She came back seconds later, crying. "They took them, all my song notebooks. Everything I ever wrote, it's gone." Ethan put his arms around her. "We'll get them back. I promise you, Lauren, we'll get them back." A detective approached, a white woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "I'm Detective Sarah Morrison," she said, showing her badge. "You're Simone and Lauren Taylor." "Yes, ma'am," Simone confirmed. "Any idea who might have done this? Any enemies, ex-boyfriends, people you owe money to?" Simone looked at Jonathan. He nodded. "We think it was Victor Whitmore," Simone said. "Or someone he hired." Detective Morrison's eyebrows shot up. "The Victor Whitmore? The dairy company guy?" "He's my uncle," Jonathan said, stepping forward. "And he's been threatening Miss Taylor because she's been helping me." "Helping you how?" For the next 30 minutes, Jonathan explained everything. The stolen company, the conservatorship, the upcoming board meeting, the threatening phone call. Detective Morrison took notes, her expression getting more serious with every detail. "This is way above a simple B and E," she said when Jonathan finished. "If what you're saying is true, we're talking organized crime levels of illegal activity. Do you have evidence?" "Boxes of it," Jonathan confirmed. "Financial records, witness statements, everything." "Then here's what's going to happen," Detective Morrison said. "I'm going to assign protection detail to both these women. I'm going to open an investigation into Victor Whitmore. And I'm going to make damn sure nothing else happens before your board meeting on Friday." "Thank you," Simone said, relief flooding through her. "Thank me yet," Detective Morrison said. "Thank me when Victor's behind bars where he belongs." After the police left and the house was processed as a crime scene, David arranged for a cleaning crew to come fix what could be fixed and secure the property. But when they got back to the Four Seasons, Lauren was still crying. "Those notebooks were my life," she said. 20 years of songs. Everything I ever felt, everything I ever dreamed, it was in those books. "Have the voice memos," Ethan reminded her gently. "The ones on your old phone, those are timestamp proof of your work. The new stuff. The songs I've been writing the past 2 years, those weren't recorded, they're just gone." Simone hugged her sister tight, feeling helpless. Jonathan pulled out his phone and made a call. "David, I need you to contact every pawn shop, every resale shop, every place in Baltimore that buys used goods." If someone tries to sell notebooks full of handwritten songs, I want to know immediately. Offer a reward, $10,000 for information leading to recovery. He hung up and looked at Lauren. We'll find them, I promise. Would Victor even take them? Lauren asked. He don't care about my music. Cares about leverage, Ethan said darkly. He knows you're important to Simone and Simone's important to Jonathan. He's building pressure points. Then he don't know who he's messing with, Lauren said, wiping her eyes. Fire replaced the tears. Because I've been through worse than Victor Whitmore and I'm still standing. He can steal my notebooks. But he can't steal my voice. And that's something he's about to learn. Then on Thursday, one day before the board meeting, the tension in the Four Seasons suite was thick enough to cut with a knife. Jonathan had been in meetings with lawyers since 6 that morning. David was coordinating with security, with investigators, with the board members who were on their side. Simone tried to stay out of the way, but she couldn't stop packing. Lauren was in the studio with Ethan again, this time re-recording the songs she could remember from her stolen notebooks. Ethan had said if they could prove she'd written them, even from memory, they could still sue Trevor and reclaim her work. Simone was alone in the suite when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Simone Taylor. The voice was smooth, cultured, older. My name is Victor Whitmore. I believe you know who I am. Every muscle in Simone's body tensed. What do you want? To talk, just talk. You seem like a reasonable young woman. Surely we can come to an arrangement. I got nothing to say to you. Even if I told you I have your sister's notebooks, all of them, completely unharmed. Simone's breath caught. You're lying. There's one with a purple cover, song lyrics written in blue ink, a coffee stain on page 14. Another one's red, has a drawing of a rose on the first page, dated 2019. Should I continue? He had them. He really had Lauren's notebooks. What do you want? Simone asked through clenched teeth. I want you to convince my nephew to drop this ridiculous crusade. The board meeting tomorrow, it doesn't happen. He withdraws his petition, accepts a generous settlement, say $10 million, and disappears. Lives a quiet, comfortable life somewhere far from Baltimore. If he don't agree, then those notebooks get burned. Your sister's life work turns to ash. And that's just the beginning, Miss Taylor. I can make your life very difficult, your sister's life, even young Jonathan's life. Accidents happen to people who don't know when to quit. You threatening us, offering you a choice. $10 million and everyone walks away happy, or you fight me and everyone loses something precious. The decision is yours. Line went dead. Simone stood there shaking, phone still pressed to her ear, rage and fear warring inside her. She should tell Jonathan. She should tell David. She should. The suite door opened. Jonathan walked in, looking exhausted, his tie loosened and his cane in hand. Hey, he said, his face lighting up when he saw her. Then he registered her expression. What's wrong? Victor called me, Simone said. Jonathan went very still. What did he say? Simone told him everything. The notebooks, the threat, the offer. By the time she finished, Jonathan's jaw was clenched so tight she could see the muscle twitching. He thinks he can buy you, Jonathan said quietly. He thinks everyone has a price. Simone asked. Do you? Jonathan countered. Simone thought about it, thought about $10 million, about what that could do for her and Lauren. College, a house, security for the rest of their lives. Then she thought about Jonathan sitting in a wheelchair on MLK Boulevard, hopeless and broken. Thought about David spending 3 years searching. Thought about justice for Jonathan's parents. No, Simone said firmly. I don't have a price, and neither does my sister. Victor can threaten all he wants. We ain't backing down. Jonathan crossed the room and pulled her into his arms, cane and all. Love you, he said into her hair. God, Simone, I love you so much. I love you too, Simone said, and she meant it with everything in her. Now let's go take down your uncle. Guys, you want to know what happens next? Because tomorrow is the board meeting and everything is about to explode. Victor's getting desperate. Jonathan's getting his company back. And Simone's about to show the world what a real queen looks like. Tell me in the comments what you think is going to happen when Simone and Victor come face to face. On Friday morning, Simone woke up at 5 in the morning, too nervous to sleep. Today was the day. The board meeting started at 10. She took a long shower, then stood in front of the hotel closet trying to figure out what to wear to watch your boyfriend reclaim his billion-dollar empire. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. It was David, holding a garment bag and a kind smile. "Good morning, Miss Taylor," he said. "Young master thought you might need something appropriate for today's meeting." "May I?" He hung the garment bag on the door and unzipped it. Inside was a dress, a beautiful, elegant dress in deep emerald green that would complement her hazel eyes perfectly. Simple but expensive, professional but stunning. "Mr. Park, this is too much." "It's not from me," David said. "It's from young master. He had it delivered this morning. There are shoes and accessories as well. He wants you by his side today, Miss Taylor, as his partner." Simone felt tears prick her eyes. "Tell him thank you, him yourself. He's in his suite, probably wearing a hole in the carpet from packing." An hour later, Simone stood in front of the mirror and barely recognized herself. The dress fit perfectly, hugging her curves in all the right places. Her hair was laid as always, edges perfect, middle bun sleek. She'd done her makeup simple but polished. She looked like she belonged in Jonathan's world. Lauren came out of her room wearing a burgundy dress Ethan had sent over, her scarf wrapped in an intricate style that looked like art, and she looked stunning. "Look at us," Lauren said, linking arms with Simone. "Two girls from Ashford Street about to walk into a billion-dollar boardroom." "Scared?" Simone asked. "Terrified, you?" "Same, but we doing it anyway." "That's right, baby girl, that's right." They met Jonathan and Ethan in the hallway. Jonathan wore a charcoal gray suit that fit him like it was made for him, because it probably was. His cane was sleek black and he stood tall and strong. When he saw Simone, his eyes went wide. "You look." He seemed to lose the ability to speak. "She looks like a queen," Lauren finished for him. "Because she is one," Jonathan agreed. "Yes, she is." Ethan offered Lauren his arm. "Shall we?" "We shall," Lauren said with a regal nod. The drive to Whitmore Dairy headquarters was silent. Everyone lost in their own thoughts. The building was in the business district, a modern glass structure that gleamed in the morning sun. The Whitmore name was displayed proudly on the front. As they pulled up, Simone could see news crews gathered outside. "Did the media find out?" Simone asked. "Victor called them," David said from the front seat. "He thinks public pressure will force us to back down. He doesn't know we invited them too." Detective Morrison was waiting outside with two uniformed officers. "Mr. Whitmore," she greeted Jonathan. "I'll be observing the proceedings. If any threats are made or any evidence of criminal activity is presented, I'm authorized to make arrests on the spot." "Thank you, Detective," Jonathan said. They walked into the building together, Jonathan and Simone, Lauren and Ethan, David leading the way, Marcus and the security team flanking them. Employees in the lobby stopped and stared. Whispers followed them to the elevator. "Is that Jonathan Whitmore? I thought he was dead." "Who's the girl?" Simone held her head high. "She belonged here because Jonathan said she did. That was enough." The boardroom was on the top floor, a massive space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Baltimore and a long mahogany table that could seat 30 people. Board members were already assembled. Older men and women in expensive suits, looking curious and concerned. And at the head of the table sat Victor Whitmore. He looked exactly like his pictures, light-skinned, distinguished, wearing a suit that probably cost $10,000. He smiled when they entered, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Jonathan," Victor said smoothly. "What a surprise. I heard rumors you were alive, but I hardly dared to hope." "It, Victor," Jonathan said coldly. "We both know you've known I was alive for days. You just didn't think I'd show up here. Yet here you are, with quite the entourage." Victor's eyes landed on Simone. "You must be Miss Taylor, the delivery girl who's been harboring my nephew." "The woman who saved your nephew after you left him to die," Simone corrected, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Victor's smile tightened. "Such loyalty. I hope he's compensating you well." "Doesn't need compensation," Jonathan said, moving to stand beside Simone. "Unlike you, she helped me because it was the right thing to do, not because she wanted something in return." "Touching," Victor said. "Shall we begin?" "I assume you called this emergency meeting for a reason." "We did," David said, stepping forward. He set a thick folder on the table. "Members of the board, 3 years ago, James and Catherine Whitmore died in what was ruled an accidental explosion. Their son, Jonathan Whitmore, was severely injured and subsequently declared incompetent. Victor Whitmore was appointed conservator of the Whitmore estate and took over as CEO of this company." David opened the folder. "What I'm about to show you will prove that everything Victor Whitmore has done in the past 3 years has been illegal, immoral and criminal. For the next hour, David presented evidence. Financial records showing Victor had embezzled over $23 million. Testimony from employees he'd threatened and intimidated. Documentation proving the medical reports declaring Jonathan incompetent were falsified. With each piece of evidence, Victor's face got redder, his hands clenched tighter. The board members looked horrified. "These are lies," Victor finally shouted, slamming his hand on the table. "Fabrications. This boy has been gone for 3 years, probably brain damaged from the accident, and now he shows up with some conspiracy theory." "It's not a theory," Jonathan said calmly. "It's documented fact. Every single transaction, every forged signature, every illegal deal, we have proof." "You have nothing." Victor stood, his composure cracking. "I built this company back up after you disappeared. I saved it from ruin." "You stole it," Jonathan corrected, standing as well. He set his cane aside, standing on his own 2 feet. "You killed my parents, tried to kill me, and took everything they built. But you made one mistake, Uncle." "What's that?" "You underestimated me. You thought I was weak, broken, that I'd never fight back. But I did, and now you're going to pay for everything you've done." Victor's eyes went to the cane Jonathan had set aside, to Jonathan standing tall without it. "You can walk," Victor said slowly. "You've been able to walk this whole time." "For months," Jonathan confirmed. "But you didn't know that, did you?" "Because you never bothered to check on me after you dumped me at that state facility. You just assumed I was still the helpless cripple you could control." "Manipulative little." "Careful," Detective Morrison said, stepping forward. "I'm recording everything." Victor seemed to notice her for the first time. "Who are you?" "Detective Sarah Morrison, Baltimore PD. And I've heard enough to arrest you for embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy." "Victor Whitmore, you have the right to remain silent." "No." Victor grabbed something from his jacket. Marcus moved instantly, putting himself between Victor and Jonathan, but Victor wasn't holding a weapon, he was holding a lighter, and in his other hand he pulled out one of Lauren's notebooks. "You want to arrest me?" Victor said, his voice unhinged now. "Fine, but this burns first," Lauren screamed. Victor flicked the lighter, the flame dancing close to the pages. "Drop your ridiculous case," Victor demanded, "or 20 years of her work turns to ash." "Victor, don't," Jonathan said. "This doesn't change anything, you're still going to prison." "Maybe, but at least I'll take something from you first, like you took everything from me." "Didn't take nothing from you," Simone shouted. "You did this to yourself. Jonathan's father gave you a job, gave you opportunities, and you repaid him by killing him." "He had everything," Victor roared. "The company, the respect, the perfect family. What did I have?" "I was always the spare, the backup, the one nobody cared about. So yes, I took what should have been mine from the beginning." "It was never yours," Jonathan said quietly. "And it never will be. You can burn those notebooks, but it won't change the outcome. You've already lost." "Then I'll make sure you lose something too." Victor moved to light the notebook. Ethan lunged forward, grabbing for it, and suddenly everything happened at once. Marcus tackled Victor. The lighter went flying. The notebook fell to the floor. Detective Morrison and the other officers swarmed in, pinning Victor down, handcuffing him while he screamed and fought. Lauren dove for her notebook, clutching it to her chest, crying. Ethan held her, whispering reassurances. Simone grabbed Jonathan's hand, holding tight while chaos erupted around them. "Whitmore, you're under arrest," Detective Morrison said firmly. "For embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy, assault, and making terroristic threats. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." As they dragged Victor out, still screaming threats, the boardroom fell silent. The chairman of the board, an elderly black man named Richard Hayes, cleared his throat. "Well," he said, "I think we've seen enough. All in favor of removing Victor Whitmore as CEO and reinstating Jonathan Whitmore as rightful heir and leader of this company." Every hand went up. Unanimous. Motion passes. "Welcome back, Mr. Whitmore." The room erupted in applause. David was crying openly, not even trying to hide it. Lauren was still clutching her notebook, Ethan's arms around her. Detective Morrison was coordinating with her officers, and Simone and Jonathan just stood there holding each other, letting the reality sink in. "We did it," Jonathan whispered. "We actually did it." "You did it," Simone corrected. "I just stood here looking pretty. You did so much more than that." He pulled back to look at her. "You gave me hope when I had none. You stood by me when it was dangerous. You loved me when I was nobody." Simone Taylor, you saved my life in every way a person can be saved. What happens now? Simone asked. Jonathan looked around the boardroom, at the empire he just reclaimed, at the life he just won back. Then he looked at Simone, and his expression softened into something beautiful. Now I spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret helping a homeless man on MLK Boulevard. 6 months later, the double wedding was held at the Baltimore Museum of Art because both couples wanted something beautiful and meaningful. Simone stood in the bridal suite, looking at herself in the mirror. Her wedding dress was custom-made, elegant, simple, perfect. Her hair was styled in her signature middle bun, edges laid to perfection, with a delicate veil that made her hazel eyes shine. Lauren stood next to her in her own wedding dress, a gorgeous gown that celebrated every curve, her hair wrapped in an intricate gold scarf that looked like a crown. "Can you believe this?" Lauren whispered. 6 months ago we were worried about rent. Now we're about to marry a billionaire and a music producer. "You believe it?" Simone asked. "Baby girl, I believe in us. The rest is just details." There was a soft knock and David Park entered, wearing a perfect tuxedo and carrying 2 small boxes. "Ladies," he said, his eyes already getting wet, "you both look absolutely beautiful. Young Master and Mr. Cross are very lucky men." "We're the lucky ones," Simone said. "I disagree, but I'm not here to argue." He handed each of them a box. "These are from your grooms. They wanted you to have them before the ceremony." Simone opened hers to find a necklace, delicate, beautiful, with a pendant shaped like a heart. Inside the heart was a tiny photo of her and Jonathan on the harbor walk. Lauren's was similar, but her photo was of her and Ethan in the recording studio. Both sisters started crying, ruining their makeup. David handed them tissues, crying himself. "You two have given these men something money could never buy," he said. "You gave them family, real family, the kind built on love, not blood." "Your family too, Mr. Park," Lauren said, hugging him. "You're the father we lost, the one who showed up when we needed him most." David fully broke down then, holding both sisters, all 3 of them crying happy tears. The ceremony was beautiful. Simone walked down the aisle to find Jonathan waiting, looking like everything she'd ever dreamed of in a perfect tuxedo, standing tall without his cane. His eyes locked on her like she was the only person in the world. Lauren walked down seconds later to Ethan, who had tears streaming down his face, not even trying to hide his emotions. They said their vows, Simone promising to always see Jonathan for who he really was, Jonathan promising to spend every day proving he deserved her love. Lauren promised to never stop creating, Ethan promised to always believe in her. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your brides," the room erupted in applause. At the reception, David gave a speech that had everyone crying. "Known young Master Jonathan since he was born," David said, his voice thick with emotion. "I watched him grow from a boy into a man, watched him lose everything, watched him find his way back. And I can say with certainty that the man standing here today is better than the one who existed 3 years ago, because he learned what really matters. Not wealth or status, but the people who stay when you have nothing. Simone, you gave him that gift. And Lauren, you and Ethan found the same truth in each other. I am honored to call you all my family." There wasn't a dry eye in the house. Jasmine, who'd been promoted to manager at Hot Pepper's Chicken after Simone funded a business expansion, caught the bouquet and immediately looked at Marcus, who blushed. Mrs. Patterson, who'd been invited because she'd been there from the beginning, kept telling everyone she'd known they were meant to be. Trevor Morrison had not been invited, but word had gotten out that Lauren had sued him, won, and was now credited as the writer on all his songs. His career was over. Hers was just beginning. As Simone and Jonathan danced their first dance as husband and wife, she thought about how far they'd come, from a street corner to a boardroom to a wedding, from strangers to partners to forever. "What are you thinking about?" Jonathan whispered. "How I almost didn't stop that day," Simone admitted. "How I almost walked right past you. You didn't. I didn't. And that changed everything." "Changed both our lives," Jonathan agreed. "You know what the best part is?" "What?" "We get to spend the rest of our lives discovering what else changes, together." 1 year later, Simone sat in her nursing school classroom at Johns Hopkins University, taking notes, living her dream. Jonathan had offered to pay for everything, but she'd refused. Instead, she'd applied for scholarships, gotten financial aid, and worked part-time at a free clinic Jonathan had helped her open in their old neighborhood. She earned her education. And it meant everything. Lauren's album had dropped 3 months ago and gone platinum. She was currently on tour, Ethan producing every show, both of them living their dreams together. David had retired from the CFO position but stayed on as an advisor, spending most of his time spoiling his grandchildren. The twins Simone was currently carrying. Victor Whitmore was serving 25 years in prison. He'd be an old man before he saw freedom again. And Simone, she was happy. Truly, completely happy. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jonathan. How's my beautiful wife? Missing you, can't wait to see you tonight. Love you more than words. J. Simone smiled and texted back. Love you more, see you soon, your wife and your future nurse. She thought about everything that had led to this moment. The pain, the struggle, the fear, the courage. And she thought about the lesson she'd learned, the one she'd carry forever. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest changes. Sometimes the person who looks like they need help is actually the one who will help you find your purpose. And sometimes, just sometimes, being a good person leads to blessings you never imagined. Not because you deserve a reward for doing the right thing, but because doing the right thing opens your heart to receive what the universe has been trying to give you all along: love, family, purpose, home. Simone Taylor had found all of that by simply stopping to help a stranger, and she'd do it again in a heartbeat. Look, I'm gonna be real with you for a second. If Simone's story hit you the way it hit me, you gotta pass this on. Send it to your sister, your cousin, that friend who's going through it right now. Because sometimes people need to see that good things really do happen to good people. You know what I'm saying? And listen, drop a comment below and tell me, what part of this story got you? Was it when Simone fed Jonathan even though she was broke? Was it Lauren finally getting her dreams back? I really want to know what spoke to you. Oh, and if you're still not subscribed, baby, what are we doing here? Hit that subscribe button. I got more stories lined up that's gonna have you in your feelings. Trust me on that. Alright, I'll catch y'all in the next one, and remember, you never know when helping somebody might change your whole life. Stay blessed. Stay kind. I'll see you soon.